Once upon a time, there was a tiger named Mike. He attended the jungle high school and wanted to try out for the track team. He wanted to somehow document his progress so he could make observations and adjustments to his running. He thought of graphing one of his practice races but did not know how, so he went to his math teacher. Scott the Owl was very knowledgeable in all things. He had spent countless years studying math. After talking to Mike, Scott agreed that graphing his practice run would be a perfect way of evaluating himself. So Mike did just that. It was a 100 meters flat practice race, and Mike, to make it harder, turned around at the end and sprinted back to the start. He ran his best practice and ran as fast as he could. As Scott watched, he recorded the time and distance from start to finish of Mike during the race. Scott came up with this graph and presented it to Mike. Mike was confused and was not really sure what the information meant. Scott explained to Mike that this graph represented his position at a given time. The y-axis was the amount of meters that Mike was from the start, and the x-axis was the time that had taken Mike to reach that distance. This is called a position graph. Scott drew these three lines and went on to explain their meaning. The lines are called tangent lines, and in this case, their slope represents the velocity that Mike had at a precise moment. Mike wondered why the number 2 line was horizontal. Scott explained that it was because he had to stop to turn around, and therefore his velocity was 0. So the slope of the line, or velocity, was 0 meters per second. The owl then showed Mike the 2 intercepting points on the time axis. This meant that Mike was at the start line 2 times. One at 0, since he started at the line, and one just before 30 seconds. Displacement is the difference from the start point to the current position, Scott explained. So it would appear as if Mike did not practice the race, since his displacement at the end is 0. Mike was confused and was pretty sure he raced since he was tired from it. He did not understand the difference between total distance traveled and displacement. Scott then drew 2 arrows on the graph to explain that his path from and to the start line was the total distance traveled, so he raced a total of 200 meters in just under 30 seconds. Scott was disappointed at Mike and told him that he was a pretty slow tiger and his cousin Raoul was faster than him. Raoul is a cheetah.